Proud of You is a parenting advice podcast and support group for dads hosted by two goofy dads. They are not pediatricians, nutritionists, OBGYNs, psychologists, nor are they authorities on parenting. They're just two dinguses trying to figure it all out. Their advice should not be taken as expert information. Parenting looks different for everyone, and there's no wrong way to be a dad. Frankly, if you're taking the time to listen to a podcast about it, you're already doing a great job. And these dads are proud of you.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Welcome back. I'm Derek Mata.
And I am Andrew Goody, and we are proud of you. This week, we want to discuss different parenting styles. And Derek, I'll let you take the wheel. This was spurred by a conversation between you and your partner.
Yeah, so the different parenting styles is because like our generation, the late 80s, 90s babies who are now parents there's conflicting types of parenting styles. You have I was raised by boomers and that's what I know, so I'm going to parent like that. And then you have I was raised by boomers and that's not what I want to do generation. So it's like I said, a conversation that my wife and I had, and we spent probably 30-45 minutes talking about it. And I was like, this is a perfect topic for us because even, between households, it's all different, but even within the same household, it could be different. Thankfully, in mine, we see kind of eye to eye. But I know some people will butt heads with their significant other about it.
Totally. Yeah. And I mean, I think this is, and we'll go down this pathway, but this lends itself to that household of the emotional, kind, considerate mom and the disciplinarian dad, right? That kindness forward parenting versus the more authoritarian parenting. And they can coexist, but I personally I like to be on the same page as my partner, right? So we attack parenting together. And that doesn't mean that every idea I have is the way that we parent, and every idea that she has is the way I parent. Like sometimes I'll have an approach to something new that comes up, and she'll be like, what if we did this? And we'll talk through it and figure out what works for our household.
Well, so how it came to be, like, so backstory is I had seen a Facebook reel about the three different generations, generation 1, 2, and 3. Generation 1 does all the hard work. Generation 2 enjoys all the hard work. Generation 3 loses everything that Generation 1 worked for. And also, a conversation was had that in our household, while our kids have lots of things because we have worked to allow them these things, they have to earn them, air quotes for those who are listening on Spotify, earn we'll say some Xbox time or some TV time. Like, we don't allow our children to become zombies in front of the screen. And it came to our attention that that's unusual for other children. Like, wait, you have to earn that? But like, we like to teach the value of hard work. You want something, you'll work for it. I want to go buy a new car. What am I going to do? Just go buy a new car? No, I'm going to work to get that thing that I want.
Yeah, totally.
But and I know that's not everybody's parenting style. A lot of parents are like, you know what? Like, no, like I had to do that when I was a kid. Instead, I want you to enjoy your childhood. So you can kind of see how like
I think
people could take it.
there's no, totally. And I think there's definitely a balance between those, right? Because I don't think that you should be raising your kid in a fully like child labor, life is terrible and you must work for everything that you earn. You are a cog in the machine, childhood. But also, you do need to teach work ethic and the rewards of hard work, right? The fact that like, hey, we're in this position where we can provide for you, where we have a nice TV and we have an Xbox and we have Disney that you can watch because I worked my ass off, right?
Yeah.
Like I work every day, and you know, your mom and I have worked really hard in our lives to get to a point where we can provide those things for you, and we want to pass on that understanding that you don't just get cool stuff. You don't just get a new car. You have to work and you know,
Yeah,
and I
'cause
guess appreciation of like if you are, because sometimes you do, right? Sometimes you people win the lottery or get inheritances or you know, just get lucky and land in a position that gives them bonuses or a super high salary or whatever that didn't really require a lot of hard work. But you can still teach appreciation of that, right?
mhm.
Um, my daughter didn't earn the TV that we have. She didn't put in the time and effort to buy that TV, but she appreciates that it's an expensive and you know, high tech piece of our home, and so she's respectful towards it and doesn't throw things at it or climb on it or anything like that, right?
It's funny because Noah throws things. He doesn't intentionally throw them at the TV, but he hits the TV quite often with those sticky things that we have, as you've seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like we definitely have the mindset of like we want our kids to enjoy the things we have purchased for them. It doesn't make sense that, hey, we bought you this Xbox, but you can't play it. Like, no, the reality is we want to prepare you for the real world. When you get out there, you hit 18, you get your first job, you move out. Obviously, like we're speaking in our terms, and we were 18, we could move out and afford it. Um, you can't just sit on the Xbox all day. You have to make a living. You have to realize that work comes first, which we kind of touched on the episode, a couple episodes ago about
Work ethic and
work ethic.
child labor.
Um,
Yeah.
and on that same note, like I've had that talk with Lucas, like first car, like I want you to appreciate and understand this first car. You are going to work on it and you're going to learn something. And at the end of the day, it's yours. Like, and it's I don't know, because I'm so conflicted on it because I feel like I'm a bad parent sometimes because I'm like, I didn't have that childhood,
Yeah.
I that wasn't even working for things. It was just I didn't get anything. And so that's what I know. But like, this is what I know, do as I say, but also like enjoy being a kid because I didn't get that chance. Where's that balance here? And then I see these other kids who are walking around with brand new iPhones, brand new iPads, brand new TVs, brand new insert electronic here. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. No, it's we're also in this really weird spot, right? Our generation, because technology has exponentially developed
Yeah.
over the course of our lives, right? Like I got my first cell phone when I was I want to say like 14. Um, and it was like a Motorola Razor. Like it was a
Damn, yeah.
phone. You
Very
could
classy.
text or you could call, and that was it, right? Like it had a camera, but it was a potato of a camera. It was like 1.2
But
megapixel.
but at
Like
the time it was good. I had a Razor
oh,
too. It
dude, it was
wasn't my
great.
first
Yeah,
one.
yeah. Um, but like that today is like, you know, some kid's first phone. First of all, for most kids, it's not 14, right? It's like 8.
Yeah,
And it's
which
like,
is another thing for a different.
and it's like an iPhone or a, you know, Samsung Galaxy or something. And like, it's so much more capable and it's so much more high tech. And so there's a piece of me when I see that where I'm like, oh man, like that's not something that you would have at like 10 years old or 12 years old or 14 years old. Like that's something that you got like way later in life. Well, no, that's
That you
something I
worked
got way
for.
later in life because it was invented way later in my life, right? Like it makes me feel so old to think about the fact that like people don't know what like T9 texting is
Yeah.
or like
We
and
we talk
I'm
about
sure
that all the
somewhere
time.
yeah, I'm sure somewhere like our parents are sitting around watching this going like you don't know what a radial dial phone is or like you know like
Except I
you know
do. Like,
somewhere my grandfather is looking down on me like yeah back when we used to send you know telegraphs to each other right? You know, like technology is just such a weird thing that way but like it has it's changed so drastically and so quickly over the course of our lives that there's this piece of me at least, and I see it in other people too, that I feel like it's this super high tech thing, right? Like this wild piece of technology. In reality, it's like, you know, I mean, not to say it's nothing, but like TVs cost like $200 to $400. Like I remember when I bought my first like LED flat screen, like nice high end flat screen. It was 47 inches, and I paid over $1,000 for it. Um, and like
So
now that same TV one is an outdated relic. It was like the nicest model at the time, and now it's like I wouldn't pick it up if I saw it out on the curb for bulk trash. Um, but like a 80-inch TV costs half that much, right? Like you
I
know,
I remember going, not trying to go off topic here, but I remember buying a big TV when I was 18 years old. I went to the pawn shop and it was a 32-inch, 36-inch. Like, you remember the backs of the TVs?
oh yeah.
My hands can't go so far because of this camera here. Thing weighed 300 pounds. I lived on the third floor of my apartment and I weighed, about 50 pounds less than I do now. And I think I spent $300 on that TV, and it was the coolest TV. Like,
Yeah.
and yeah, like, and I'm the same way. Like, hey, this TV is kind of expensive. Like, you have to earn this kind of thing. Like, no, you just gotta buy it.
Yeah. Well, and to kind of get back on the topic, right? I think there's a lot of stuff that kids get to enjoy about being a kid that doesn't really cost anything, right? Obviously, it's a little bit different because I have a toddler, right? So she's not asking to play Xbox a lot right now. Um, but like her favorite thing in the world is just sunshine and dirt. Like she loves just
Man,
getting to be a kid and go outside and play. And so, part of my process of like, okay, down the line, how are we going to handle screen time stuff? Um, is leading with that kindness of like, I want her to do what she loves. And I love sitting inside and watching TV. It's fun. But I don't want her to lose how much she loves sunshine and dirt
mhm.
because she's always sitting inside watching TV and playing video games, right? In the same way that I have to fight that, right? That modernization of it's really easy to just sit on the couch and watch a TV show or watch a video or play a video game. It takes conscious choice to turn that off and go for a run or go for a camping trip or go for a hike or just go out back and play in the grass with my kid, right?
Yeah, like it's I'm guilty of it because I get home. Yes, granted, like I get home from work and I just want to sit there, but our kids don't see that, especially our
No.
kids that go to school. Like, all they see is you're at home doing nothing. Why do I
Yeah.
have to do something and you're not doing anything? And it's just one of those things in life you got to explain to your kids and hope they understand. But I I want to take my first ex-wife here because one of the biggest issues that we have, or we have, yeah, kind of both, is my oldest daughter at her mother's house is allowed to just be a kid. Air quotes here. Just be a kid means you sit on your device all day.
Yeah.
So when we have her, like, no, go outside and play. Go get that sunshine and dirt.
Yeah.
Creates a huge fuss. And
Yeah.
it's
One,
and it
go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, and it's aggravating because like this is how we are raising three of our children, the three that live in our household. It's like you don't your life is not revolving around this screen. And it's easy to say because like I work on a computer all day and I hate working on a computer all day. My wife told me the other day she hates the fact that she's working on a computer all day. So we want to teach our kids something different, but we also don't want our kids to be that weirdo, like, oh, you don't play Xbox whenever you want? Like, because at that point, are we bad parents because we're telling them to go outside?
Well, and you know, they might be different, right? Because especially like obviously I don't have any school aged kids who are going to public school, but like we live in a pretty affluent part of town. And so I imagine that a lot of the kids at Lucas's school probably just mostly live on Fortnite, right? Or like whatever, I don't know if kids are still into Fortnite,
No,
whatever,
it's
whatever
still
video games is still
huge. Like,
like
yeah.
that's, like they do like that's how they socialize outside of school. They're
Hmm.
not the let's go ride our bikes to the park generation. They're the we don't have to leave the house. We can just play Fortnite generation. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I think that's a whole other topic for, for probably another episode. Um, but like I'm such a firm believer in autonomy, and I want Alana to make her own choices, right?
Hmm.
Um, and that can lead to like, okay, I'm gonna let my kid decide and she can do whatever she wants. Um, man, crap, all she's choosing is sitting on the couch watching TV. Do I let her choose that, right? Because it's her choice. I want her to have that freedom. I want her to have that autonomy. Do I let her continue to choose that thing? Or do I push her to be a more well-rounded and interesting individual and go outside and get some sunshine and dirt, or do some kind of activity, right? Help me make dinner, or clean the house, or go do something other than just sit on the couch. And it's a really tough choice, and honestly I don't have the answer.
Yeah, and it was a hard choice for April and I, because we are that, and at the beginning, I mentioned that boomer generation of this is how we were raised, so this is how we're going to raise you. But at the same time, like, we understand that kids, that's how they interact. Like, Lucas gets home, he does his track practice, or not track practice, but like does his little track routine that he does to make sure that he's ready for the next year. And then he gets on. But, like, we hate that. At what point is he spending time with the family, interacting with his brother and his sister? And so as parents, we see that too. Like, we want him to interact, but of course, in his mind, like, no, I want to hang out with my friends. Like, I get it. And so it's that battle that we have as parents, that we want you to be happy. We want you to have what everybody else has, because we've worked for these things that we have given you.
Yeah.
But we want you to be like a functioning member of society, because that's how society actually works. Because
Yeah.
without going on to some political, corporate, whatever, like, we all have to become cogs in the machine at some point before we find ourselves. And in order to do that, you have to understand how it works to be that cog. And I hate that analogy, like, now that it's coming out of my mouth, but like, you Xbox isn't the end all be all of the world, okay?
I think I disagree with some of what you said, but I know where you're coming from with it. Because I think there's an argument that you don't necessarily have to become a cog in the machine, right? Like if your kid figures out that he's super into animals, right? I'll use Alana. Alana loves animals. And like that makes sense. She's a 2-year-old. But let's say that continues on, right? And her whole life she's super into animals. She's Eliza Thornberry for my fellow millennials
Like,
out there.
great,
Um,
great
like
fucking example.
maybe she doesn't work an office job and become a cog in the machine. Maybe we encourage her, and especially because we're in the position to carry her a little bit because of the hard work that we've done to be in the position that we're in. um and she gets studies to become a zoologist. I don't know if that's a degree or a trade school or what, but like, and she gets a job at a zoo and works and does that, right? Like, she's still going to work a job, but it's going to be more of a passion project, right?
Oh,
She's finding herself and then turning that into something lucrative, making her living off of something that she is not subsisting so that she can maybe someday find the thing that she loves.
So okay, I completely, yeah, you are 100% right. And I definitely did not say all my part to it. So when I say a cog in the machine, your first job is going to be retail, fast food, something small, shitty. You're working for somebody else, like that kind of thing. Like, because your first job is going to suck, you're not going to like it, but you have to be able to listen, respect, take orders, kind of thing. But we do, and we have given this, we gave this assignment to Lucas. We said, and we talked to him yesterday about it. Come the end of this school year, when you walk in that door, tell me a few things that you would like to learn over the summer, because we don't want him to kind of fall into the same trap that like we have, like, hey, we're working a job because it pays the bills, but we're not happy with doing what we're doing. Like, we are very encouraging. We had the same talk with Evelyn. Like, it was a whole thing back when we lived in Georgia. But because we have Lucas full time, like, we're really pushing that. Find something you love. That's not Xbox, because while yes, you can make money with Xbox, success as an esports person is about the success of a podcast, you know. And I've used that example. Like, we do this for fun, to give out information. We are not looking to retire by doing this podcast. So we want him to have realistic goals. Like, you're not going to retire at 16 years old playing Rocket League or Fortnite. So find something that's useful, like cars. He says he wants to be an engineer. It's like, cool, let's figure out what kind of engineer you want to be. Oh, you want to learn computers? Cool. We'll get a computer hooked up and kind of figure out, like, so, you know, to clarify what I was saying earlier, because yes, we don't want him to just settle for a job. We want him to find that job that you love, so you're never working a day in your life, kind of thing.
Yeah, no, and that makes sense. And I mean, to use the example that I used, right? If Alana's super passionate about animals and she's going to be a zookeeper, I'm not affluent enough to just buy her a zoo, so her first job is probably going to be cleaning poop out of zoo cages, right? Like, and
Why aren't
she's
you
going to
buying
have
her
to,
a
like
zoo?
you
Come
said,
on, work harder.
take orders, work hard, do the job that, you know, get that micro dirty jobs life on until you can pull yourself up to the higher position that you want.
And that's one thing. Like, we're talking dirty jobs, and I love Micro. Like, I love him to death, because he puts into perspective, like, these are jobs that need done, and it's okay to get dirty.
Yep.
And we've told Lucas that, like, these jobs that nobody wants to do are actually high paying jobs. Like, everybody's after the dollar, right? Like, at the end of the day, I want more money. You want more money. Anybody listening to this, watching this, wants more money. Trash men probably make more money than I do, the last time I checked.
Yeah. Yeah, undesirable jobs are always going to pay a little bit more because people don't want to do them. So supply and demand, you're gonna get paid a little bit more money.
Yeah, and we just, or like, let's say HVAC, auto. I don't want to say auto mechanics, but like people who can work on the fine tunings of cars, kind of thing. Like, these are all things that we educate our children on, while also teaching them, hey, you can't just, when you graduate high school, you're not just handed that job. Somebody's not just like, hey, here's your $100,000 job, here's your $200,000 job. Like, you still have to work for it up until a certain point.
Yeah, totally. So, I mean, going back to the crux of what started this conversation, right? You had mentioned that you and April talked a little bit about like different parenting styles. Can you give me a little bit more of a rundown on what that conversation looked like?
It was, without going into too much detail, because I was told to kind of keep names and whatever out of it.
No, for sure.
It was something that somebody that she knows, their parenting style is very selfish. Um, they let their children be on the electronics, play on the video games, kind of whatever, and then come the weekend is their time. And as parents, like, my me time is saying, hey, goody, let's go grab some dinner. Like, that's my me time. Not, hey, it's the weekend, now is my time, and I don't care about you kids. Like, I'm gonna go send you to the babysitter again. So the kid's with somebody 7 days a week, and that somebody's not their parents. Um, and so that's kind of how it got, and because like I was guilty of it. When Noah was first born, it was right as COVID happened because Noah was born. Yeah, so Noah was just a couple months old when COVID happened. I got off work. I was working from home. I got off work, and what I do, I fired up Call of Duty. And when I fired up Call of Duty, it was me time. And we had a lot of fights about it. And I have come a long way since that time.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like family comes first. Whatever, yeah, again, I'm guilty of scrolling Facebook Marketplace because like I love my cars. But I also want my family, my little ones, to interact with the family. So I'm not going to be like, oh, watch TV so I can go play some video games. Like, and it's just funny. Or the weekend, like, hey, we have a weekend together finally, because I work 6 days out of the week except for one weekend a month. Like, let's go do something as a family, not all right, peace out. I'm gonna go. I don't know. What do people do for fun?
Yeah, and I think I mean it all comes down to balance, right? Because I think that me time is important. But you're right, it can turn into like if your kids are a burden and an inconvenience to you and you're just like, yeah, go watch Bluey because I want to do my thing. Um that can that can turn into a pretty nasty family dynamic really quickly. And like as somebody with a daughter who's going through a very, very clingy, needy toddler phase right now. And like, don't get me wrong, I love it. I'm so glad that she always wants to spend our time with us. And it's really overwhelming that she wants to spend every minute of every day doing something with us. Um, Sometimes if she'll just chill on the couch and watch Bluey so that Emily and I can have an adult conversation in the other room. Um, and I don't necessarily mean like an adult conversation. I mean like talk about something that's not Anna and Elsa and Bluey. Um, like talk to another adult human.
Yeah.
Um, that's great. Like go eat some goldfish and watch Bluey and we'll and hang out. But it's not 7 days a week. It's
Yeah,
it's a balance. Because I think that time is important, right? And I think especially like as your kids get older, I'm kind of watching this with my niece and nephew, right? Because they're 9 and 11, and they're starting to get to that point where like when Emily and I go over to their house, it used to be like, oh, auntie and uncle are here, we're gonna like run right down and play and everything. And now like sometimes if my nephew is playing Fortnite, he would rather play Fortnite than hang out with us. And that's cool because he's hanging out with his friends and he's doing his thing and he'll probably come down and have dinner with us and chat a little bit. And then maybe if we're talking about, the state of geopolitics and the economy right now and he's 9, he'll go back upstairs and play Fortnite because he doesn't care about that, right? And like so just letting him have that choice of like, yeah, you are always welcome to come and hang out with us, but if you want to go and do your own thing, that's cool too. um but they've also raised their kids to be incredibly well-rounded, so it's not just, I mean, typically it's not just Fortnite, right? Like he's got other things that he's interested in, and our niece has things that she's interested in, and so the they'll bounce around. And I think the big thing is just they understand the importance of family time, right? And the fact that we don't live in that house and we don't get to see them every single day. So when we come over, it is kind of special and they want to spend time with us. Um, and that's a balance that I haven't really had to work on with Alana because she's still so young. But
Mhm.
I kind of see you seeing it with Lucas, right? Where like you do live in the same house, so he does see you guys all the time, but that family time is still valuable and it's still important. And how do you teach that intention and that care that like uh no matter how much time you get with your family, every minute is still so valuable because you have no idea how much of it you're going to get in the grand scheme of things, right?
And that's, my wife and I will go on to these long tangents because her and I together have 100 years of experience and we're only what 65 total. um but we have been through so much. We tried teaching that to a teenager who would rather be on the Xbox, or, you know, hey, watch your brother and sister so we can. Yesterday we picked up a patio table. Hey, watch your brother and sister, and then we get like you get the eye roll.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, who's your best friend? Who's the one that you can turn to when times are hard? Your sibling. So it's 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 fun. Air quotes again. My air quotes is the name of this episode. um, it's it's trying to find that balance there, and while teaching a lesson as parents, because my wife and I want to teach those lessons and don't want our kids to have to figure it out on their own, because we have made those mistakes multiple times, and we don't want our kids to have to do it too.
Yeah. Well, and you know, I think that leading by example can be a big part of that too, right? And I'm saying this hypothetically because again, I haven't really hit this phase in my journey as a dad yet. But like, because I think, you know, that inclination to be selfish that, you know, uh, aforementioned not named coworker, whatever, like that's kind of important, right? Because I've seen the flip side of that. I've seen parents, and I've watched Emily fucking live and die for Alana, which like that's kind of your job as a parent, right? But you can
Yeah.
get burnt out so fast if you don't just take a fucking break every now and then and take that time for yourself and let your kid watch Miss Rachel so that you can eat a meal, take a breath, recompose yourself, and be able to interact with a child again. Um, and you know, especially when you've got two or three or four kids that you're managing and that you're parenting, um, it's really important to have those me time breaks. And so I don't know. I think that showing your kids and demonstrating like, hey, I love spending time with you. I love hanging out with you. I need a little bit of a break. I need 20 minutes where nobody touches me, to quote Bluey. Uh,
Or
I just need to step away. And it's not because I don't love you. I want to come and hang out and play this game with you or do this thing with you, but I need to go veg out and watch an episode of How I Met Your Mother for 22 minutes because I need to just shut my brain off and be able to reset so that I can come back and be the loving, happy, upbeat dad that you know and love. Because if I don't take that time, I'm going to turn into not that dad, right? I'm going to turn into shitty, overwhelmed, overstimulated, doesn't want to be here dad.
yeah, or I mean, something as small as watching a single episode of How I Met Your Mother, or something as big as like going out with the boys or going out with the girls. Like it's something I tell my wife all the time. Like go out with somebody one night. Like just get away from the kids. Like obviously I can keep the kids alive long enough for you to get home.
Yeah.
Um, like it's sometimes we need that because we need that adult interaction. We don't want to lose ourselves to our children, because what happens when they leave? Suddenly you're with a stranger, or you don't even know yourself. So like don't lose that part of yourself. Like tying into another episode, like find something that you enjoy doing that you can also do with your children. Like I'm into cars, you're into hiking, like incorporate that. Like remember who you are. Your kids want to learn those life lessons, want to learn those different things, because Miss Rachel is only good until you're probably about 4 or 5, and then suddenly you got to find something else.
I don't know, man. I'm still learning from Miss Rachel, but
I stopped watching her ages ago. We don't watch her in this house anymore. Kids
you're
aren't
lucky,
into
man.
her. But
Yeah, but yeah, but I mean, I think, and it's you know, we talked about the the parenting shift in our generation where there are those people who had super strict boomer parents and they adopted that super strict boomer policy, and then there is the flip side who had super strict boomer parents and are like, well, I don't want to do that. I'm going to do this completely opposite thing, right? Um, and I think I fall somewhere in the middle of that, because I liked a lot of the way that my parents parented me, but also I realized spending time with other people before I had a kid, spending time with other families before I had a kid, and then, having my own child and spending time with Emily and watching the way that she parents and spending time with other people who we know who had kids around the same time as us, like I'm seeing all these things that like you don't know what you don't know, right? So
Mhm.
like I thought, and this isn't, I want to be abundantly clear. This isn't a slight at my parents at all. I thought my parents were the best parents in the world because I turned out great. And then I realized that there were other ways that you could parent. And I was like, oh, yeah, my parents had some room for improvement in some areas. Like there are some things that I wish were drastically different about my childhood. And like again, I turned out great, right? My parents did a good job because they kept me
Good.
alive long enough to be my own person, and I'd
They
like to
raised you
think
with
I'm
how
not
they knew.
horrible.
Well, I
Like,
know, like probably one
you
of the
know,
happiest people I know is you. So your parents did
yeah.
a fantastic job.
And so like I think that's the struggle that a lot of us face is just breaking that myopathy of like or myopia of like I'm a good person, so whatever made me who I am, that's the way that you make a good person, right? There's a million ways to make a good person. We say it in our intro, or Will says it in our intro every week. Like there's no right way to be a dad. There's no one right way to do this. So I and who knows? Maybe, and I won't even say maybe. There's 100% chance that 30 years from now, when Alana is 32 and making Proud of You 2.0 with her friends, uh, that she'll be looking back at the things that I did as a parent and be like, my dad raised a great person, but there's some things that he could have done better or done differently, right?
No, I mean, we're not perfect. I like to
Yeah.
pretend I am. We're not perfect. And we we can do everything right and our kids will still be like, you could have done something different.
Well, and I think the not to go down the rabbit hole of how social media changes our perception of what parenting is, but I think the thing that more parents and especially dads need to let go of is there's no such thing as perfect. You cannot be a perfect
That's
dad.
right.
No one is a perfect dad, right? Like it, Derek has told me that he watches the way that I parent Alana and feels like a bad dad because I do
Yeah.
things that he doesn't do. I watch the way that he interacts with Noah and Lucas and Ivy, and I feel the same way. Like we just have different parenting styles, and all of our kids are growing up great. All of our kids are doing well, and so it's really easy to watch somebody else who seemingly in a moment that you're capturing a glimpse into their life, right? Whether that's on Instagram or whether you're running into another dad at the park, you see somebody interacting with their kids and you're like, oh man, that guy's nailing it. I'm doing such a bad job. No, you're not. You're doing a great job. You're supposed to
Yep.
be a dad. You are a good dad. You're listening to this podcast because you are a good dad. You wouldn't be here caring about your kid if you weren't a good dad. Um, but there's different ways, right? There is no perfect way to be a dad.
Nope. No, and it's I scroll on my lunch break, I scroll Facebook Reels, hence how I found the one about the generational whatever. And I see all kinds of just different things, and I'm like, I want to share this to our social media because people do need to see this. I saw one today and it broke my heart. As you know, like I'm not one to ever break down, but like this one almost broke me and I almost shared it. Because it's something we all go through or will go through or have gone through, for the dads who have older kids who have moved on. But you think any of these dads that make these videos think they're perfect? No, they all see their flaws and they accept those flaws and they learn from other dads. I keep hitting this damn mic.
Yeah, one and honestly, I think one of the most dangerous things that you can do as a parent is think that you're perfect, right? I mean,
Mhm.
that's a narcissism red flag if I've ever heard one. Like, uh, always strive to be better for your kid because you deserve to give your kid the best life, and your kid deserves to have the best dad. So, always keep trying, but just know that you're trying is the hard part. Trying is what your kid needs. You
That's
know,
right. Like,
if you're trying and you're showing up, you're doing it. That's the thing. You're doing the thing.
and on that, let your kids see you fail. So many of us are scared to let our children know that we are human and that we make mistakes. Like I, because I have made so many mistakes in my life and have came back from rock bottom, like I am the first to tell my children, I have made a mistake. This
Yeah.
is how I grew from it. I am where I am now because I made mistakes. It's okay to do that. You only grow from a learning experience. I a song lyric, like I love my song, I love my music, I love my song lyrics is a calm sea does not make for a seasoned sailor. Like you're not gonna learn unless you're put into a situation in which you can understand growth. Like
Yeah. Well, and that goes back to our conversation on work ethic, right? I mean, that's what you're doing for your kids, right? You're shaking up the sea a little bit. You're teaching them, you know, you're teaching them the ropes so that when things get rough, you're keeping the sea as calm as you can for them because that's your job as a dad, but you're teaching them that it's not always going to be calm.
that's right.
I love it. Well, thank you for spending your time with us and joining us for another episode of Proud of You. We really appreciate you spending your time with us every week. Our social media links are down below. Like this video, comment down below if you're watching it on YouTube. Subscribe if you're one of our podcast listeners on Spotify, Apple, or any of our other podcast or podcatching networks. If you can download the videos or set them up to auto download, it really does make a huge difference. Those download numbers bump us in the algorithm on podcasts. Same thing for YouTube. If you can share this video with your friends, comment on it, like it bumps us up in the algorithm and it helps us share the word with more dads and help find more people who are struggling to figure out what the best way to be a dad is because there isn't one. And we're here to remind everybody of that because we are not the best dads.
Well, you're a better one than me.
Right back at you, man. Until next week, I'm Andrew Goody,
And I'm Derek Mata.
and we are proud of you.